How far have we come between the M1 Max maxed out MacBook Pro and the M2 Max maxed out MacBook Pro? Let's find out. I've been using this M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro as my main production machine since October 2021. It's the fastest computer I've ever owned. I can't touch what it's capable of in terms of computing power, but it has been superseded by the M2 Max MacBook Pros, and I have one of those here. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that this is a 16-inch version and this is a 14-inch version. The 16-inch MacBook Pro is just getting a bit too big for me. I'm doing more traveling at the moment and it's just annoying, whereas the 14-inch is just lovely. So my idea was to switch from this massive laptop to this much more convenient and, in theory, much faster laptop this year. However, I didn't account for the fact that Apple would launch this brand new M2 version in January. So I need a very good reason to go from this to this, because they are both very expensive laptops and I'm not made of money. So in this video, I'm going to find out how far we've come between the M2 Max and the M1 Max. It should be very interesting. Before we get started, just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is SaneBox. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but you probably are, in that you hate email management. It's an absolute faff. SaneBox knows that, they've fixed it for us, and basically they can save you on average over 2 hours per week on email management. And I can confirm that because according to my SaneBox stats, I received 438 emails last week and saved 2.5 hours managing them. SaneBox uses AI to manage your incoming emails and put them into appropriate folders. And even better, it learns over time what you do with your inbox, so it gets better the more you use it. It creates 2 folders, Sane Later and Sane News, which you can go into at any stage, and in my experience it only puts newsletters, notifications and the non-important stuff into those folders. There's loads more features, so you can banish unwelcome senders with the brilliantly named Sane Black Hole. It can remind you to follow up unanswered emails, it can snooze emails, you can turn off emails completely for a period of time while you go away, and it even has a deep clean to declutter your entire inbox. It sends you a daily digest so you can see exactly what it's doing with your emails. It works with any email client, any email service, and basically it removes stress from email management. And it lets you focus on real people, which is all we want from email. It saved me loads of time already, as you can see. There's a free trial available, so you can give it a go, see what you think, and yeah, click that link in the description, and thank you very much to SaneBox for sponsoring this video. Right, onto the specs of these two machines. So the 14-inch M2 Max MacBook Pro here has a 12-core CPU, a 38-core GPU, a 16-core neural engine, 32 gigabytes of unified memory, and a 2 terabyte SSD. The 16-inch MacBook Pro that I've been using for a little while now has an M1 Max chip with a 10-core CPU, a 32-core GPU, a 16-core neural engine, 32 gigabytes of unified memory and 2 terabytes of storage. So what I've done is basically max out the chips on both of these machines. I haven't maxed out the unified memory and the SSD storage because I'm not made of money and I don't need that stuff. And yes, there is a big difference. Literally, this one is the 16-inch version and this one is the 14-inch version. But I've explained my reasons for that, and also, well, my benchmarks aren't, well, they're more kind of normal bloke than they are max tech. So with all that said, let's get into it. My benchmarking process is very straightforward. Basically, I take a piece of 10-minute footage from this camera, which is a Sony FX3 if you're interested. It's 4K, 10-bit colour, it's pretty serious stuff. I then put it into Final Cut Pro and I do 2 things. I do a render and an export, and I time both processes. I've done that test already on the 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro, and it did the render in 1 minute and 31 seconds, and the export in 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Let's see what this can do. So to get the render going, I'm going to do a very simple colour correction. Nothing fancy at all. It's a very dark piece of footage, this. I did this very quickly, so ignore that. But yeah, just to get the render going, just do couple of tweaks there. Then I've got my timer ready on here, so we'll go into modify, get the mouse ready on render all, get my finger ready on start. This is very technical, obviously, and away we go. So it's off. Let's bring up the render window so we can see what's going on. And yeah, it's off. Here we go. 10% already, 16%. This feels quite quick. So remember, the M1 Max did the render in 1 minute and 31 seconds. We are 20 seconds in and we're at 30% already on the M2 Max. I'm expecting it to be quicker. It has to be. It's a brand new generation. It's got more GPU cores. It should be a much quicker machine. Yeah, here we go. So we're at 57 seconds, 82%. Let's get my finger ready on the stop button, 88%. Wow, 92. Wow, it's quick. It's really quick. It's really quick, 97, 99, done. 1 minute and 10 seconds. Okay, so it is a good 20 seconds quicker than the M1 Max at the render. That's very impressive. The next test is the export. Again, I keep this really simple, so we just go into Export File, into Settings, choose H.264. That gives me a file size of about 4 gig, just over. Nice. Go to Next, off we go. The export time on this M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro was 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Okay, we're now at 30%, 1 minute 25 seconds in. This is going to be quite close, I think, guys. The render time is really important. You know, the faster your Mac can render video, the quicker it gets ready for export. But then if you're working against the clock, and people who spend this much money on these kind of Macs are typically working against the clock. They need to get things out fairly quickly. I sit within that bracket, and that's why the export time is crucial. The quicker you can export a video, the quicker you can deliver it to a client, the quicker you can upload it to YouTube to meet a sponsor deadline. And I'm now worried because we're at 49% and 2 minutes 19 seconds. 2 minutes 37 is there, and it's still at 57%. This doesn't look good, does it, for the M2 Max? We're into 4 minutes now. Done. 4 minutes, and if we round it up, 36 seconds. I'm really starting to think now, what is so different about the 16-inch MacBook Pro compared to the 14-inch that makes it so much quicker with the previous generation exporting the same piece of footage? I'm really confused by this. If you're interested, I did this test on some other Macs. Again, the exact same conditions. And if we start with the M2 Mac Mini, this is the 16 gig version of the M2 Mac Mini. That did the render in a very respectable 1 minute and 58 seconds. So not much slower than these machines. And it did the export in 5 minutes and 4 seconds, which again isn't much slower than this, but it's an awfully lot slower than this. The base spec M2 Pro Mac Mini beat the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the render. It did that in 1 minute and 27 seconds, which again, compared to this, only a little bit slower than this. And the M2 Pro Mac Mini did the export in 4 minutes and 44 seconds. I need to have a think. Hang on, I need to think about this. So, going back to the question that I asked myself at the start of this video, will I be going from the 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro to the M2 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro? No. Don't get me wrong, the size difference is very tempting. This 14-inch MacBook Pro, I've always lusted after, having bought this, I'll be completely frank with you. It's irrelevant, I'm afraid, because this does not outperform this. In the render, absolutely, by 20 seconds this is quicker, but that export time, it's completely thrown me. I can't get my head around why this is slower. If you can work out what's going on here, let me know in the comments. If you've worked it out, if you think I'm an idiot for comparing the 16 versus the 14-inch, I still don't think that's the issue, but if you think that's the case, let me know. And more importantly, explain why I'm an idiot. What is different about the 16-inch version? Anyway, if you've still got some time, I have done, like I say, lots of other tests with this footage, and the one that I think you'll find very interesting, or at least as interesting as this test, is the one that I did with the base spec M2 Pro Mac Mini, which is sat over there. So yeah, keep watching for a link to that video.